Hi, it's Vic. Thank you so much for joining me today. And today I'm sharing a card with you that I made using some products using Time for Tea designs. I've got the Circle of Love nesting dies, so I'm going ahead and die cutting two pieces of white card and then a smaller size for my card front. So the two larger pieces are going to be your card base, and then the smallest piece is going to be the front of your card. And I'm just scoring the top of the circle piece, and then I will put some tape on this and put the two panels together so that they will adhere together nicely. And I have the Buzzing For You stamp set. So what we're doing here, we're just prepping our cardstock. I've got some Versamark ink, and this won't show up on screen. It's like a sticky glue that will make your embossing powders stick. So I can see it in real life, but I'm just stamping some clouds. And as we're doing some heat resist embossing today, you need to do this step first before applying your inks. So I'm just finishing up the little clouds that I'm stamping, and then I'm also going to be using the smaller cloud, and I'm just going to add a couple more of these before I add my embossing powder. And I'm going to be using some white embossing powder. So once the stamping's done, I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle on some embossing powder, and then I'm going to be heat setting this with my heat gun. And you can use any colour embossing powder for this, but I chose to use some white just so that it shows up nice and brightly once I've ink blended this panel. And once the clouds have been heat set with the heat gun, I'm going to be starting my ink blending. So I've got my Time for Tea Designs beautiful blender brush, and I'm just going in with some scattered straw. So this is the first colour that I'm laying down, and I apply this to the whole of the circle piece. And then after this colour, I'm going in with a darker colour. So I'm going to be using some Spice Marmalade, and I'm just applying this to the edges and blending the inks into the middle just to give it a bit more of a darker appearance. And then I've got some worn lipstick, so I'm just applying this colour to the top, and here I have some tissue, so I'm just going to very gently buff over the top of this, so where we've heat embossed the clouds, it will bring them out a little bit more. And now I'm just working on the bottom part of the card. So I have the Landscape Edge Standalone dies, so I'm using the two grass pieces. So I'm just going to go ahead, cut them out with my die cutting machine, and then I'm just trimming these down. So the first piece of grass, I've used some double-sided tape, and then you just turn it over and then just cut round the bits that are hanging off the edges. And then for the second piece, I've got some foam pads I've put down just to add some dimension, and again I'm just trimming off the excess. Next I'm just doing some stamping, so I've got the Be Happy stamp set along with the Buzzing For You stamp set. So I'm just stamping out the images that I want to use on my cards, and I've used some Memento black ink for this just so that when I do my Copic colouring the ink won't bleed. But this will look really nice if you do it on some watercolour paper too and use your watercolour markers or paints. So here I'm just colouring in the bees, and I've put the markers on screen, and I'm just doing some quick colouring here, but I will list everything that I've used down below in the description box. And here I'm just adding some red just to give the bees a little blush, which I love doing to images. I think it just brings them to life. And I haven't shown all the colouring as the bees are all coloured in the same markers. I'm just going to quickly show the basket and then the beehive. And I loved colouring in these images. The Time for Tea design stamps are always so cute, so it's always super fun to colour the images. So I'm just finishing up the beehive, and then I'm going to be colouring in the little envelope that the other bee is holding. And then I have a white gel pen, so I'm just going to add some highlights to their cheeks. And I've got the coordinating dies, so I'm just placing them over my images, and I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. And I've got some double-sided tape, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere the panel down, and I'm just going to be doing the sentiment next. So I've used the sentiment from the Be Happy stamp set, and it says to a sweet friend. So I've got some Versamark ink, again using some white embossing powder. I've heat set this, and now I'm just trimming the sentiment out. And now I'm just adhering all my images down onto the card, so I've used some foam tape for this. And then lastly, I've got some sequins and I've got some PVA glue, so I'm just adding a couple of sequins to the card just to finish the card off. And there we go, the card is all complete. So thank you so much for watching. Take care, bye.